The cross is the greatest contradiction in history, a symbol of suffering and salvation, of death and life, of shame and glory. It stands as an eternal offense to the wisdom of men and the pride of human hearts. To those who seek power, it appears weak. To those who crave wisdom, it seems foolish. And to those who trust in their own righteousness, it is an insult to their pride. Yet in this very offense lies the power of God to save. The cross offends because it declares that man is lost. It does not negotiate with human goodness. It does not flatter human effort. It does not say, try harder or be better. It says you are dead in your sins and only the death of another can bring you life. This is unbearable to the self-sufficient. The world resists the message that all its wisdom, morality, and self-righteousness amount to nothing before a holy God. It offends the religious because it removes all boasting. No man can stand before God and say, I contributed to my salvation. The cross does not allow for personal achievements or spiritual credentials. It exposes every heart, revealing that all stand condemned apart from grace. This is why men despise it. It leaves no room for pride, no room for self-glory. It offends the world because it demands surrender. The cross does not invite negotiation. It calls for crucifixion of the will, of the flesh, of self-rule. It calls men to die to their ambitions, their self-made identities, their cherished sins. And this the world cannot bear. It would rather have a religion that affirms, a philosophy that flatters, a message that inspires, but does not demand submission. It offends the powerful because it exalts the weak. The cross does not favor the strong, the mighty, the influential. It proclaims that the last shall be first, the humble shall be exalted, and the broken shall be made whole. Kings and rulers resist this truth, for it dethrones them. The world mocks a crucified king, but heaven calls him Lord. It offends the wise because it reveals their folly. The world's philosophies shift like sand, but the cross remains unshaken. It does not conform to human logic, nor does it seek approval from scholars. It is a mystery that only the humble can grasp. It confounds the brilliant, but is clear to the simple. The proud call it nonsense. The childlike call it life. It offends the flesh because it calls for a new birth. The natural man does not want to be remade. He wants to be improved. But the cross does not improve, it kills. It does not reform, it transforms. It does not polish the old, it creates something new. And this man resists. He wants to be in control of his destiny, to write his own story. But the cross tears that story apart and writes a new one with the blood of Christ. The offense of the cross has not faded with time. It still confronts, still divides, still demands a response. And though the world rejects it, though the wise despise it, though the powerful resist it, there is no other hope, no other salvation, no other way. The cross is not a compliment to humanity, it is an indictment. It does not come to affirm the goodness of men, but to expose the depth of their ruin. It does not stand as a suggestion for self-improvement, but as the final verdict on human failure. The cross does not negotiate with sin, does not compromise with corruption, does not adjust itself to fit human pride. It declares with unyielding authority that man is lost. There are those who would like to believe that man, though flawed, is not hopeless. That with enough education, discipline, or religious effort, he can ascend to something worthy, something noble, something acceptable to God. But the cross does not permit this illusion. It does not whisper encouragement to those who are trying their best. It does not applaud moral effort, religious devotion, or intellectual achievement. It does not say you are almost there. It says you are dead. The cross stands as a brutal interruption to all self-righteousness. It does not permit the idea that man can reach God through good deeds, religious rituals, or acts of kindness. It does not recognize the efforts of the flesh as anything more than filthy rags. It does not give honor to human wisdom or human morality. It does not divide the world into good people and bad people. It declares that all are guilty, all are fallen, all are condemned. It does not make exceptions for the sincere or the well-intentioned. It does not lower the standard for those who try their hardest. The cross does not say some are lost. It says all are lost. The world resists this message because it shatters the foundation of human pride. Man wants to believe that he is capable, that he is progressing, that he is redeemable by his own hand. He wants a message that inspires, that flatters, that tells him he has something good within him that only needs to be cultivated. He wants a gospel that helps him improve, not one that tells him he must die. He wants a cross that affirms, not one that condemns. But the cross does not negotiate with human pride. It is not a motivational speech, it is a death sentence. The cross does not leave room for self-justification. It does not entertain the idea that sin can be excused or minimized. It does not categorize sins into acceptable and unacceptable. It does not tell one man that he is closer to heaven than another. The thief and the scholar, the beggar and the king, the religious and the rebel all stand equally condemned. The cross does not say that some sins are small and others are great. It does not measure righteousness by comparison. It declares that even the best of men are still sinners, and even the smallest sin is enough to separate man from God. This is why the cross is hated. It does not tell the world what it wants to hear. It does not offer compromise. It does not extend recognition to human effort. It does not grant man the dignity of contributing to his own salvation. It removes every illusion, every excuse, every hope apart from Christ. The cross stands not as a monument to human potential, but as the final evidence of human ruin. The cross is the great silencer of human pride. It does not allow for boasting, does not leave room for self-congratulation, does not permit man to stand before God with a list of accomplishments. It does not say you have done well, it says you could do nothing. It does not reward effort, it cancels it. It does not affirm human goodness, it exposes its absence. Salvation is not something man can earn, negotiate, or achieve. It is given freely, or it is not given at all. Man, by nature, wants to take credit. He wants to believe that he contributed something, that his morality, his devotion, his sincerity, or even his suffering somehow played a role in securing his standing before God. He wants to believe that he is in some way worthy. This is why religion, apart from the cross, always seeks to elevate man. It offers systems of merit, steps of achievement, rituals of purification. It provides ladders to climb, sacrifices to make, good deeds to accumulate. It appeals to the desire of the human heart to be recognized, to be rewarded, to be seen as deserving. But the cross does not cooperate with this desire. It stands as an unshakable reminder that salvation is not a reward, it is a rescue. The cross demands surrender because Christ himself surrendered. He did not come to establish an earthly empire, to seek personal gain, or to fulfill human expectations. He came to die. He did not resist the will of the Father. He embraced it. He did not cling to his own rights. He laid them down. He did not assert his power. He submitted to suffering, and he calls all who follow him to do the same. This is why the call of the cross is so radical. It does not ask for part of a man's life. It demands it all. It does not allow for divided loyalties. It does not permit a man to keep his plans, his desires, his ambitions, his comforts, his pride, or his control. The cross demands that everything be laid down. It does not say adjust your priorities. It says abandon your life. It does not say make room for Christ. It says Christ is your life. The world resists this surrender because it values independence, self-determination, and control. The idea of yielding everything, of relinquishing one's plans, rights, and desires is intolerable to the natural man. He wants to be in charge. He wants a faith that fits into his life. not one that takes over his life. He wants a Christ who serves his will, not one who demands obedience. But the cross offers no compromise. It calls for the death of self so that Christ may reign. This is why salvation is not just an event. It is a surrender. It is not merely accepting Christ. It is yielding to him. It is not simply believing in him. It is following him wherever he leads, whatever it costs. The cross does not add Christ to one's life. It replaces one's life with Christ. And until a man lays everything down, he has not truly come to the cross at all. The cross is the great reversal of human values. It does not exalt the strong, the accomplished, or the self-sufficient. It lifts up the broken, the weak, and the helpless. It does not applaud human strength. It exposes its futility. It does not reward the proud. It resists them. It does not elevate the powerful. It dethrones them. The world honors those who climb higher, achieve more, and dominate others. The cross honors those who bow lower, surrender fully, and depend entirely on God. This is why the cross is offensive. It overturns every system of human greatness. It does not crown the ambitious. It crowns the meek. It does not promote the self-reliant. It welcomes the dependent. It does not honor those who trust in themselves. It exalts those who have nothing left but to trust in him. The world praises those who fight for their own glory. The cross calls men to lay it down. The world seeks power. The cross calls for surrender. The world exalts those who are first. The cross says the last shall be first. Man by nature resists this truth. He believes that success comes by striving, that greatness is earned, that favor is won by effort. He believes that the strong survive, that the wise prevail, that the powerful rule. But the cross does not operate by human wisdom. It does not seek the approval of the world. It does not reward self-sufficiency. It stands in absolute contradiction to the systems of men. The cross exalts the weak because God does not save those who think they are strong. He saves those who know they are not. The proud do not seek mercy. They believe they do not need it. The self-sufficient do not cry for help. They trust in themselves. The righteous in their own eyes do not look to the cross. They see no need for it. But the broken, the desperate, the humble, they are the ones who are lifted up. The kingdom of God is not built on human power, but on divine grace. The weak are not just tolerated, they are chosen. The lowly are not overlooked, they are exalted. The rejected are not discarded, they are called. The cross is not a throne for the mighty, it is a refuge for the helpless. It does not demand that men prove their worth, it declares that Christ is their worth. This is why the world despises the message of the cross. It does not cater to the powerful, it humbles them. It does not affirm the self-sufficient, it breaks them. It does not offer salvation as a prize to be won, it offers it as a gift to be received. And only those who recognize their own weakness will take hold of it. The last shall be first, the humble shall be lifted up, the broken shall be healed, the lost shall be found, the empty shall be filled, the weak shall be exalted, and the ones who have nothing to offer will receive everything in Christ. The cross is an offense to human wisdom because it defies every expectation of how salvation should work. It is not an achievement, not a philosophy, not a moral code to be followed. It is not something to be studied, debated, or mastered by intellect. It is a declaration that human wisdom has failed, that human reasoning is powerless, and that God's ways are higher, beyond the grasp of proud minds. The cross does not appeal to the learned, the accomplished, or the sophisticated. It speaks to the humble, the childlike, the ones willing to believe. This is why the world cannot accept the message of the cross. It is too simple for the philosopher, too offensive for the moralist, too weak for the powerful. The intellectual seeks complexity, but the cross offers simplicity. The scholar looks for logic, but the cross demands faith. The world wants a God who can be analyzed, explained, contained within the limits of human understanding. But the cross does not conform to human logic. It does not seek validation from human intellect. It does not require the approval of the wise. The cross removes all boasting because it declares that man's best efforts amount to nothing before a holy God. It does not say that some are closer to salvation than others. It does not acknowledge the good works of one man as superior to another's failures. It does not see the moral man as more redeemable than the criminal. The ground is level at the foot of the cross. The scholar and the fool, the priest and the prostitute, the law-abiding citizen and the condemned thief, all stand on equal footing. None can claim advantage. None can claim worthiness. None can present credentials. The cross is offensive because it nullifies human pride. It does not allow the preacher to boast in his knowledge, the monk in his devotion, the philanthropist in his charity. It does not allow the disciplined to boast in his self-control, the intellectual in his wisdom, the noble in his integrity. It does not allow the religious man to boast in his traditions or the spiritual man to boast in his experiences. The cross does not recognize human distinctions. It erases them. This is why salvation is by grace alone. Grace does not reward the righteous. It declares the unrighteous righteous. Grace does not congratulate, it humbles. Grace does not pay wages, it bestows gifts. If salvation were by effort, some could boast. If it were by wisdom, some could claim superiority. If it were by morality, some could take credit. But salvation is by grace, so that no man may boast. And this is why the cross is hated. It is not just a message of love, it is a message of humiliation. It tells the world that all their striving, all their self-improvement, all their attempts at goodness are worthless in securing salvation. It tells the religious man that his rituals do not justify him. It tells the successful man that his achievements do not count. It tells the sinner that he is not beyond redemption, and it tells the righteous that he is not righteous at all. The cross does not allow man to hold on to his pride. It strips him bare, leaves him with nothing, removes every illusion of worthiness, and in that emptiness, grace enters, not as a wage earned, not as a prize achieved, but as the undeserved gift of God, given freely to those who can bring nothing in return. The cross is not an invitation to self-improvement. It is a call to death. It does not ask men to do better, try harder, or clean up their act. It does not offer a path to personal enhancement or a strategy for becoming a better version of oneself. The cross is not a self-help program. It is an instrument of execution. It does not reform, it crucifies. It does not polish the old life, it puts it to death. This is why the cross is offensive. It demands surrender, not effort. It does not say work on yourself, it says deny yourself. It does not say develop your potential, it says lose your life. The cross does not negotiate with human ambition, it demands its death. It does not accommodate the plans of men, it shatters them. It does not ask for partial commitment. It requires total surrender. Man by nature resists this call. He wants a faith that inspires, not one that kills. He wants a gospel that helps him reach his goals, not one that calls him to abandon them. He wants a Christ who supports his dreams, not one who demands his very life. He wants a religion that fits into his plans, not a cross that ends them. He wants the benefits of salvation without the cost of surrender. The cross does not permit such illusions. It does not offer partnership with self-will. It demands its crucifixion. It does not encourage men to find their true selves. It commands them to lose themselves. And it does not invite them to improve, it calls them to die. This is why the world hates the cross. It is not a message of personal achievement, it is a message of personal abandonment. It does not feed the ego, it crushes it. The Greeks sought wisdom, the Jews sought signs, but the cross offers neither. It is not a system of knowledge to be mastered. It is a truth to be received. It is not an argument to be debated. It is a call to surrender. The world looks for wisdom in power, in intellect, in self-discovery. But the wisdom of God is found in a crucified Christ. And to the proud, this is unacceptable. Man wants a salvation he can understand, one that makes sense to his mind, one that aligns with his reasoning. He expects that knowledge should be the path to enlightenment, that wisdom should be the key to truth, that intelligence should bring him closer to God. But the cross does not permit such arrogance. It does not reward those who are learned. It humbles them. It does not honor those who rely on intellect. It confounds them. It does not acknowledge human wisdom as a step toward God. It declares it powerless. This is why the simple understand what the proud call foolishness. The childlike embrace what the scholars reject. The humble receive what the brilliant overlook. The uneducated grasp what the intellectuals dismiss. The cross does not require a sharp mind. It requires a surrendered heart. It does not demand intelligence. It demands faith. The world sees foolishness, but the humble see salvation. The world sees weakness, but the broken see power. The world sees nonsense, but the desperate see hope. This is why the cross is hated. It does not make room for human superiority. It does not affirm the intellect of man. It does not offer salvation as a reward for knowledge, wisdom, or discovery. It offers it as a gift, freely given, received only by faith. And so the last understand what the first overlook. The simple grasp what the wise dismiss. The ones who bring nothing receive everything. And the cross, though a stumbling block to the proud, becomes the very power of God to those who believe. The cross is not about self-improvement. It is about transformation. It does not come to refine the old nature, to polish it, to help it improve. It comes to put it to death. It does not offer rehabilitation. It demands rebirth. The cross does not ask a man to become better. It requires that he become new. This is why the message of the cross is offensive. It does not say try harder. It does not say fix yourself. It does not say turn over a new leaf. It says you must be born again. It declares that the old life is not salvageable, that no amount of self-discipline, moral effort, or religious devotion can make a man right before God. The cross does not treat man's condition as something to be improved. It declares it hopeless. It does not diagnose sin as a flaw to be corrected. It pronounces it a death sentence. And the only cure is not self-help, but death and resurrection. Man resists this truth because he wants a gospel that allows him to remain in control. He wants to believe that his efforts contribute, that his righteousness counts, that his morality gives him standing before God. He wants a faith that adjusts his life, not one that demands he lose it. But the cross does not negotiate with the flesh. It crucifies it. It does not modify the old man. It buries him. The new birth is not a gradual process. It is an act of divine power. It is not a self-improvement plan. It is a supernatural transformation. It is not the old nature made better. It is a new nature created by God. The man who comes to the cross does not walk away the same. He is no longer who he was. He has died with Christ and he is risen with him. The desires that once ruled him are broken. The chains that once bound him are shattered. The life that once defined him is gone. This is why the cross is hated. The world wants a message of reform, not one of rebirth. It wants a Christ who improves lives, not one who demands they be lost and remade. It wants salvation that leaves man's pride intact, not one that declares him dead apart from grace. But the cross offers no compromise. It does not negotiate with the old. It replaces it with the new. The call of the cross is not to become a better person. It is to become a new creation. It is not about external change. It is about internal resurrection. It is not a modification of the old heart. It is the birth of a new one. The one who comes to the cross does not simply turn from sin. He is made new in Christ. He is not just a forgiven sinner. He is a reborn saint. He does not merely receive a second chance, he receives a new life. The cross has never been neutral. It does not offer a safe, comfortable message that can be admired from a distance. It is not an abstract religious symbol or a sentimental idea. It is a confrontation. It is an offense. It is a dividing line that forces every person to make a decision. The cross does not allow for indifference. It does not permit a casual response. It demands surrender or rejection. This is why the message of the cross remains offensive today. It tells men that they are not good, that they cannot save themselves, that their wisdom is foolishness, and that their strength is weakness. It shatters the illusion that man is progressing towards something better. It does not tell him that he is on the right path. It tells him he is lost. It does not tell him that he is enough. It tells him that he is empty. It does not tell him to believe in himself. It tells him to deny himself. The world hates this message because it exposes the truth it does not want to hear. The cross offends the proud because it leaves no room for self-righteousness. It offends the religious because it declares that rituals and works cannot save. It offends the wise because it does not conform to human reasoning. It offends the strong because it demands dependence on Christ alone. The cross does not adjust itself to culture. It does not change with the times. It does not seek to be accepted. It stands as a contradiction to the world, and the world still stumbles over it. Today, just as in the past, people want a gospel that fits their desires. They want a Christ who affirms their lifestyles, a salvation that costs them nothing, a faith that demands no sacrifice. They want a God who tolerates sin, not one who condemns it. They want a Jesus who inspires them, not one who commands them. But the cross does not bend to human preference. It does not make peace with the world's values. It does not soften its message to avoid offense. It stands as a declaration that Christ alone is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one comes to the Father except through him. This is why the cross divides. It is a sword that cuts through every illusion, every excuse, every false hope. It does not allow people to remain undecided. To encounter the cross is to be faced with a choice, either to bow in surrender or to turn away in rejection. There is no middle ground. There is no compromise. A man will either humble himself before Christ or harden himself against him. He will either find life in the cross or be condemned by it. The world may change, but the cross does not. It is as offensive today as it was when Christ was crucified. It still declares that sin is real, that judgment is coming, that salvation is only through Christ. And just as it did then, it still demands a response. No one can stand before the cross and remain unchanged. A decision must be made, and eternity hangs on that decision. The cross stands unmoved, unchanged, and unshaken by the passing of time. It does not conform to culture, does not soften its message, does not seek the approval of men. It still declares that man is lost, that salvation is by grace, that self must die, and that only through Christ can a person be made new. It remains the great dividing line of history, the point at which every soul must choose surrender or rejection, life or death, mercy or judgment. There is no middle ground. There is no neutral response. To some, the cross will always be foolishness, a stumbling block, an offense. But to those who believe it is the power of God, the doorway to life, the hope that never fails. The world may despise it, mock it, and resist it, but it cannot erase it, it cannot silence it, it cannot change it. The cross still stands, the call still goes out, and the question remains, what will you do with the cross?